Imagine this. You've just buried your husband, the love of your life, and your daughter-in-law, of all people, laughs in your face. She scorns you, calls your dress cheap, and mocks you in front of everyone. That's exactly what she did to me. But baby, what she didn't know was that I had something waiting, something so powerful, it would shake her world to its core. She thought she could break me? She thought wrong. Because when I decided to make my move, it wasn't just about teaching her a lesson, it was about showing her who she was really messing with. And trust me, she learned the hard way, and you won't believe how. Stick around. You don't want to miss this one. Y'all ever felt the sting of betrayal so deep, you couldn't even put it into words? Like a knife twisting in your back, and you never saw it coming? Well, let me take you back to a time when my world turned upside down, and my daughter-in-law, oh my dear, sweet daughter-in-law, made it her mission to show me just how little respect she had for me. Now, I've always prided myself on being kind, nurturing, the one who holds the family together. I've worked hard for everything I have. I've made sacrifices for my son, my daughter-in-law, and my grandchildren. I gave my love and my time freely, no questions asked. But you see, some people, especially those you trust, will look you dead in the face and act like you're nothing more than an inconvenience. Take my daughter-in-law, for example. I never once treated her anything less than a daughter. I opened my arms, my heart, and my home to her, thinking, this is family. This is how it's supposed to be. But honey, it wasn't even close. She'd always been a bit cold towards me, but I brushed it off. Maybe it was the way she was raised. Maybe it was just her personality. But I figured, she'll come around. We'll find common ground eventually. I didn't let her rude little comments get to me. I ignored the side-eye looks when I'd try to help or give advice. I ignored it because I thought I was doing the right thing. But that night? Oh, that night I saw something that shook me to my core. I had just wrapped up a business trip that didn't quite go as planned. Plans fell through. Meetings canceled. But as I was walking through that hotel lobby, minding my own business, I bumped into her. My precious daughter-in-law. The last person I ever thought I'd catch in the act of doing something so low down, so dirty. See, she didn't know I was there. She didn't know I was in the hotel, nowhere near the room she was meeting him in. Yes, him. The janitor. That man who's been sneaking around with my daughter-in-law for the past 2 years. Oh, and let me tell you something, baby, I knew it when I saw them. I knew it. I may be older, but I've lived long enough to spot a lie from a mile away. The way they whispered, the way he touched her, honey, it was written all over their faces. Now, at first, my gut told me to confront her right then and there. To walk up, look her dead in the eye, and say, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" But I didn't. No, I didn't give her that satisfaction. See, I'm not the type to let people see me sweat. Instead, I did what any wise woman would do. I played the game. I bided my time. I took a step back and let her think she was getting away with it. So, I did the only thing I could think of. I followed her. Now, I want you to really take a moment and understand why I did this. When you give someone your trust, when you invest your heart and your soul into a relationship, the last thing you expect is to be betrayed. You think family is sacred. You think your daughter-in-law will be there for you, just like you've been there for her. But that wasn't the case. Not with her. I let her think I didn't know. I let her walk through those doors, thinking she had pulled one over on me. But trust me, baby, the real game was just beginning. So, I followed them. I stood outside that room, heart pounding, trying to make sense of it all. The truth was right in front of me, but I needed more. I needed to see how deep this thing went. So, I waited. I listened. And when I caught a glimpse of them leaving, my heart sank even further. There was no mistaking it. My daughter-in-law had been sneaking around with this man for 2 whole years. 2 years of lies. 2 years of deception. At that moment, I wasn't angry, not yet. No, I was just hurt. Confused. I had to step back, breathe, and make sense of everything. But let me tell you, I wasn't about to confront her right away. Oh no. You see, I had something bigger in mind. Something better. And honey, when I decided to act, it was going to be something she would never forget. I wasn't just dealing with a woman who had disrespected me. I was dealing with someone who had hurt my son, someone who had shattered the trust in our family. And I don't take betrayal lightly, not from anyone, let alone someone I've always treated like my own flesh and blood. So what did I do? I held my peace. I didn't say a word. But trust and believe, I was planning. I was watching everything. And I was preparing for the perfect moment. But let me ask you this. Have you ever been so mad at someone that you knew you were about to do something that would make them regret crossing you? I'm talking about that moment when everything inside of you snaps and you know it's time to make a stand. That's where I was at. I wasn't just about to let her get away with what she did. No, I was going to make her feel the weight of her actions. So stay tuned, because what happened next? Oh baby, that's a story you won't want to miss. But first, if you've ever been in a situation like mine, if you've ever been betrayed by someone close to you, someone you loved, then hit that subscribe button right now. Don't just keep this story to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because trust me, I'm about to show you just how deep the game can go. And you're gonna want to see what happens next. I never thought my own daughter-in-law could do this to me, and my son, of all people. But when I followed her that night, what I saw would change everything. Now, let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a situation where you knew you had to fight for what was right, even when it felt impossible? What would you do if you caught the person who was supposed to be your family doing the unthinkable? This story's just getting started, y'all. Stay with me. Things are about to get real. Let me tell you something. There are moments in life that make you question everything you thought you knew. Moments when the people you love, the ones you've cared for and sacrificed for, turn on you in the worst way possible. But baby, nothing could have prepared me for what happened at my husband's funeral. That's right. My husband, the man I spent my whole life with, the one who loved me through thick and thin. It was supposed to be a day of mourning, a day to honor him. But instead, it turned into a day of betrayal, a day I will never forget. I remember that morning like it was yesterday. The funeral home was filled with people, family, friends, neighbors, coming to pay their respects to the man who had worked so hard for his family, who had given everything for us. The air was thick with sadness. It was supposed to be a day of reflection, of quiet grief. But that's not what happened, no ma'am. My daughter-in-law, that woman, oh, I still can't find the words to describe her. She had the nerve, the audacity, to mock me at my husband's funeral. Mock me. In front of all those people. The woman who had disrespected me time and time again. The one I had treated like my own daughter. The one I had welcomed into my home with open arms. And this is how she repaid me? She thought I couldn't hear her, that I wouldn't notice the way she whispered to her friend, Shelley, behind my back. Oh, but let me tell you something, I heard every word. Now, I'm not one to make a scene, especially not at a funeral. But I'll be honest with you, I wanted to walk up to her, shake her, and tell her off right then and there. But no, I had to keep my cool. I had to hold it together. Because you see, there's power in patience. There's power in waiting for the right moment. And trust me, I knew that moment was coming. It wasn't going to be that day. No, baby. That was just the beginning. So, there I was, standing there, listening to my daughter-in-law and her little friend Shelley laugh behind me. What were they laughing at? My dress. My damn dress. Can you believe it? They were laughing at what I was wearing. At me. At the woman who raised her son, who had been there for her every step of the way. They thought I couldn't hear them. They thought they were clever, hiding their mockery behind their giggles. But I heard it. Every word. And it hurt. What hurt more than the words, though, was the realization that this woman, this person I had welcomed into my family, had no respect for me. She was sitting there, mocking me in my time of grief. At my husband's funeral, no less. I should have been grieving, mourning the loss of the man I loved. Instead, I was standing there, trying to hold it together, while my daughter-in-law turned my pain into a joke. But I wasn't going to let her see me sweat. Oh no, honey. I've been through too much to let her or anyone else break me like that. So I smiled. I kept my composure, like I always do. Because in that moment, I knew something. This wasn't just about my husband anymore. This was personal. And that's when I made my decision. The decision that would change everything. You see, I've spent my whole life being the strong one. The one who's always there for everyone, no matter what. I've sacrificed my own happiness, my own comfort, to make sure my family was taken care of. But there comes a time when you have to stop putting everyone else first. There comes a time when you have to stand up for yourself. And baby, I was done being disrespected. I spent the rest of the service holding my tongue, but in my mind, I was already planning. Oh, I had a plan. I knew exactly what I was going to do, and when the time came, I wasn't going to hold back. I was going to make sure she never disrespected me again. I was going to make sure the world saw exactly who she really was. You know, people like her, they think they can get away with anything. They think they can walk all over you and you'll just keep taking it, smiling and nodding. But not anymore. Not from me. Not anymore. Have you ever had someone mock you, insult you, and act like you don't matter? Have you ever been so hurt by someone you trusted, someone you loved, that you just knew deep down that something had to change? Because that's exactly what I was feeling in that moment. And trust me, I wasn't going to let it slide. Not this time. Now, I know y'all are wondering, Granny Tina, what did you do? What happened next? Well, let me tell you, I didn't let her get away with it. Oh no. I did something that made sure everyone knew exactly who she was. But I'm getting ahead of myself, aren't I? You see, I knew what I had to do, but I wasn't going to do it just yet. No, I was going to make her wait. I was going to make sure the whole world saw her for what she really was. But before I get into that, let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a situation where you just couldn't take the disrespect anymore? When someone crossed that line and you knew you had to do something about it. When you knew that if you didn't act, you'd be letting them win. That's where I was. And I wasn't about to let that happen. But hold tight because what happened next? Oh, baby, that's when the real chaos started. And you won't believe how everything came crashing down. But before I tell you, let me ask you to do something. Hit that subscribe button, because trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. If you've ever been disrespected, if you've ever felt unseen, then stay with me. Granny Tina is just getting started. They think I didn't hear them. But I did. And that's when I knew this wasn't just about my husband anymore. This was personal. Now, tell me, have you ever had someone mock you in your own presence and laugh at your expense? What did you do? How did you handle it? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. This is just the beginning, y'all. Hold on tight, because things are about to get real. You ever sit back and watch life unfold, and deep down, you know this is it. You've reached that point where everything you've been holding in, all the hurt, all the disrespect, it's all gonna come to a head. And when that moment comes, baby, you better be ready to grab it. That day, the Thanksgiving service after my husband's funeral felt like the perfect storm. The grief was still fresh in my bones. I could still feel the weight of losing my partner, the man who had been my world for so many years. And then, there was my daughter-in-law, who seemed so damn eager to disrespect me, to mock my dress at the funeral. My husband's funeral, of all things. I'm not gonna lie, the slap of those words, the mockery of my appearance, stung. But what hurt more wasn't just the words. It was the years of disrespect, of feeling invisible, of watching her walk all over me as if I was nothing. I had tolerated it for long enough. But here's the thing. Sometimes, when life gives you that kind of insult, you gotta let the fire simmer for a bit. You don't act right away. You wait. You let them think they've won. And when they least expect it, that's when you make your move. You see, by now, I knew this wasn't about me. This was about her. It wasn't just about the funeral anymore, it was about something deeper. It was about power. It was about respect. She had forgotten who I was, and I wasn't going to let that slide anymore. Now, I wasn't going to confront her directly. No, that would be too easy. This needed to be a spectacle. A statement. It had to hurt deeply. You know, some people like to think they're untouchable, that they can get away with things in the shadows. But let me tell you, darling, when you drag someone through the dirt, it comes back on you tenfold. And it just so happens that I was ready to make sure it hit her where it would leave a mark for the rest of her life. But this wasn't going to be your typical confrontation. No, I wasn't going to get involved in no drama-filled shouting match, no slap in the face. I wasn't going to waste my energy on that. Instead, I had a little plan. A little accident that would bring everything into the light. I knew Thanksgiving service at the church would be a big event. The whole family would be there, and with the media buzzing around, well, it seemed like the perfect time to set the stage. But I wasn't just relying on the media to stir the pot. Oh no. I had someone on the inside. Someone who knew exactly how to handle a situation like this. I had met with a close friend of mine, someone with deep connections in the tech world, an IT specialist who owed me a favor. He knew exactly what needed to be done, and he'd been working with me on a little project. We had set up a perfect distraction. One that would get the media's attention, just enough to mess with the program they had ready to roll. You see, sometimes you need to play dirty. And sometimes you need to let others do the work for you. So, we set the wheels in motion. The plan was simple. During the Thanksgiving service, an accidental upload to the church's projector system. A file, labeled innocently, would be uploaded and appear on the big screen during a particularly emotional moment. No one would know what it was until it flashed for the entire congregation and the media in the room to see. And what did it show? My daughter-in-law, caught in her lie, caught with the janitor. But let me tell you something, she didn't know who was behind it. She didn't know the full extent of what I had been working on. I had set this up perfectly. That's the beauty of this kind of revenge, you see. You don't just throw a punch. You make sure your opponent never sees it coming. The room was packed, full of mourners. People gathered for my husband's memory, for the service. There I was, sitting calmly, trying my best to look like I was just as devastated as everyone else. The calm before the storm. But deep inside, I was planning my masterpiece. And when that projector flashed up on the big screen, showing my daughter-in-law and her janitor, well, honey, let me just say, the air in the room shifted. You could feel the shock, the gasps. People didn't know how to react. Her face, oh, I'll never forget it. The confusion. The panic. The realization that she had been exposed for the world to see. The best part? The media didn't even know what hit them. The moment she realized what had happened, it was too late. The cameras were rolling, the shots were taken, and the entire room was frozen in disbelief. You know how they say the truth always comes to light? Well, that projector was my spotlight. And my daughter-in-law? She was the star of the show, whether she liked it or not. The chaos that followed was something I'll never forget. She tried to cover it up. She tried to explain herself. But it was too late. Everyone had seen it. Everyone knew the truth. Now, let me tell you, watching her squirm, watching her try to piece together the lies she'd been feeding everyone, that was worth it. It wasn't just about the betrayal anymore. It was about the power shift. I was done being the invisible one in the family. I was done letting her think she could do whatever she wanted and get away with it. This was my moment. But of course, you're probably wondering what happened after that. What happened when the whole family found out? How did she react? Did she face the consequences of what she'd done? Oh, baby, trust me, there's more to this story. You won't believe what happened next. Before we get into that, though, hit that subscribe button. Don't keep this to yourself. I know you've been through situations where someone thought they could pull the wool over your eyes. You've probably had your own daughter-in-law or someone close to you try to make you feel small, invisible, disrespected. If you've been there, then you need to hear this. Stay with me because Granny Tina's got a whole lot more to share. I knew she'd never see this coming. But honey, when that projector flashed and the whole world saw her secret, every jaw in the room dropped. And so did hers. Now, think about it. Have you ever been betrayed like this? Have you ever been laughed at, mocked, or disrespected by someone you loved? What did you do about it? Let me know in the comments. Share your thoughts with me because this right here, is only the beginning. Stay tuned for the next chapter, baby. You won't want to miss it. Hit that subscribe button, because I'm about to drop more truth than you can handle. You ever watch a storm brew from the comfort of your front porch, knowing it's coming, but not knowing just how fierce it'll be? Well, that's exactly how I felt after the Thanksgiving service, when that projector flashed my daughter-in-law's truth for the world to see. Now, baby, the chaos that followed was nothing short of a whirlwind. It didn't take long for the media to catch wind of what happened. Headlines blaring, cameras flashing, reporters trying to make sense of the madness. The whole town was talking, whispering, and shaking their heads. And in the midst of it all, I was sitting there, calm as a breeze, with my arms crossed and my chin held high. I wasn't here for no pity party or no apologies. This wasn't about being the bad guy. This was about being seen, being heard, and making sure nobody ever took me for granted again. I wasn't angry though, no, not at all. I had been angry for too long. But now? Now, I was ready to sit back and watch the truth unfold. And honey, the truth had legs, and it was running like wildfire. Let me tell you something. The reactions from the family were something. I thought I had seen it all, but when the dust settled and the cameras started rolling, I saw just how deep the lies had rooted themselves. My son, oh baby, he was all over the place. You could see the war within him, torn between defending his wife, the mother of his children, and realizing that the woman he married had lied to him for years. That conflict was eating him alive. But here's the thing, darling. No matter how much he tried to defend her, no matter how many times he said, "It's not as bad as it looks," the facts were staring him right in the face. The footage from the service didn't lie. She had been caught. There was nowhere for her to run. I'll never forget the look on his face when I finally sat him down to talk. His voice was shaking as he asked, "Mom, why didn't you tell me sooner?" I let that question sit in the air for a moment because, honey, if I had told him back then, maybe he wouldn't have believed me. Maybe he wouldn't have seen her for who she really was. Sometimes, people have to see it with their own eyes. Baby, you've been blind for a long time. I didn't want to be the one to break it to you, I told him, steadying my voice. But now that you see it, you can't unsee it. He just stared at me, eyes wide, looking lost. I could see the gears turning in his head as the pieces started to fall into place. The late nights, the excuses, the lies, everything that didn't add up now made perfect sense. And in that moment, I saw him start to mourn something deeper than my husband's death. He was mourning the loss of his trust, the loss of his belief in the woman he loved. But it wasn't just him. No, some of the family members sided with her too. Can you believe it? They wanted to sweep the whole thing under the rug, act like it didn't happen. They were so caught up in their own fear of confrontation that they were willing to ignore the obvious truth. One of my nieces even tried to call me out, asking why I had to make such a big scene. "Why couldn't you just let it be?" she asked. I looked at her and said, "Let it be? Let it be. Baby, if I let it be, then what's to stop her from doing it to someone else? What's to stop her from hurting my son even more? I won't let anyone bury the truth for the sake of convenience." It wasn't long before the calls started flooding in. My phone rang nonstop, people from all corners of the family asking me what had happened, why I'd done what I'd done. It was like they couldn't understand that this wasn't just about drama, it was about justice. It was about standing up for the years I had quietly endured disrespect, for the family that had been built on lies. It was about making sure that the pain I had suffered didn't go unnoticed. And baby, I wasn't done yet. At first, the daughter-in-law tried to downplay everything. She put on her best fake smile and tried to smooth things over. "It wasn't like that," she said. "It's all a misunderstanding." But, honey, there's no mistaking what's right in front of you when it's staring you in the face. She was starting to get desperate. She even tried to twist the story, making herself out to be the victim. She told everyone that I was just mad at her for no reason, that I'd always hated her, and that I was trying to destroy her family. But no one was buying it. Not after the projector incident. No, after that moment, no amount of lies could cover the truth. She had been caught. But here's the kicker, baby. My son, he was torn. He didn't want to lose his family, didn't want to have to choose between me and his wife. He stood by her side even when it was clear that she had betrayed him. But I wasn't having it. I couldn't stand by and watch my son destroy himself for a woman who had no respect for him, for me, or for anyone. Every time he tried to defend her, I cut him off. You need to wake up, son, I told him. The truth is staring you in the face and you're ignoring it. You want to keep pretending she's the angel you think she is, but I'm not going to sit back and watch it. But despite the chaos, despite the fallout, I wasn't backing down. Not this time. It was like I had unlocked something inside myself. A strength I hadn't realized was there. For too long, I had let things slide. I had been the quiet matriarch, the one who kept things together for the sake of peace. But now I was ready to fight for what was mine, to stand tall and make my voice heard. The more they tried to sweep it under the rug, the more the truth dug itself in deeper. But I wasn't letting go. Not this time. The real test was still ahead. My daughter-in-law thought she could manipulate the situation, that she could spin her lies and charm her way out of it. But I wasn't having it. The game had changed, and I was ready to play. Now, let me ask you, have you ever been in a position where you've had to fight for your truth? Where everyone around you is trying to cover up the lies, and you have to stand strong to make sure the truth gets seen. How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments, because trust me, you're not alone. And if you're feeling the story, baby, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what happens next. There's more coming, and believe me, it's going to be even more explosive than this. Stay tuned. I've been a quiet woman for most of my life. I learned early on that there's power in silence. When you don't say anything, people have no choice but to fill in the gaps with their own assumptions. But let me tell you something, baby, there comes a point when silence isn't enough. When your heart starts to weigh heavier than the words you've swallowed. And when that happens, well, that's when the real truth comes crashing in. This was my moment. I had let things slide for so long, turning the other cheek, making excuses, thinking maybe, just maybe, things would change. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't. Not until I did something about it. And baby, I was done waiting. When I called her that day, when I told her to come to my house for the confrontation, I knew this wasn't going to be easy. But it was necessary. I could feel the tension in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. But this time I wasn't backing down. I sat there, my hands folded calmly in front of me, staring at her as she walked into my living room. She tried to walk in like nothing was wrong, like I hadn't just exposed her dirty little secret to the whole world. She even flashed me that fake smile of hers, the one that always made me feel like I was less than. But this time, I wasn't going to let her get away with it. Her eyes darted around the room nervously as she sat across from me. She didn't say a word at first, just shifted in her seat like she was waiting for me to speak. But no, I wasn't going to let her control this moment. Not anymore. I leaned forward, my voice calm, but the words were sharp as a blade. You thought you were so clever, didn't you? Sneaking around behind my son's back, thinking you could get away with everything. But what you didn't count on, what you didn't see coming, was me. Because I'm done being the invisible one. I'm done letting you walk all over me. And I'm done letting you destroy my son. She blinked, looking like I had slapped her. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She was trying to gather her thoughts, but I could see the guilt creeping into her eyes. She wasn't going to play this off like she did with everyone else. Not now. Not today. Granny, she started, but I cut her off before she could get another word out. No, you don't get to talk yet. Not until I've said what I need to say, I told her, my voice firm and unwavering. I could see her shaking now, the guilt starting to settle into her bones. She wanted to leave. I could see it in the way her hands fidgeted with the hem of her dress, but she wasn't going anywhere until I was done. And I had a lot to say. You thought I wouldn't find out about your little affair, huh? Thought you could keep it hidden, behind my back, behind my son's back. But you didn't count on me on my instincts. I knew something wasn't right. I knew you were lying to his face every time you smiled at him. But he loved you so much, he couldn't see it. He couldn't see that you were just using him for everything he had, and still, you couldn't even be bothered to treat me with respect. She shifted in her seat again, trying to put on that tough exterior, but I wasn't buying it. No, I could see through all her lies now. And this time, she wasn't going to be able to talk her way out of it. You treated me like I was invisible, just a part of the furniture in your life. I sat there at every family gathering, every birthday, every holiday, smiling, making small talk, pretending like everything was fine. But you? You were laughing behind my back. You were mocking me, calling my clothes cheap, acting like I didn't even belong in this family. And for what? For what, baby? I stood up now, my eyes never leaving hers. I worked my fingers to the bone to help my son. I gave up everything, every ounce of energy, just so he could have a better life than I did. And you? You sat there, enjoying the fruits of my labor, taking my son for granted. So don't sit there and try to act innocent. Don't even think for 1 second that I'm going to forgive you just because you're trying to cry now. Her lip trembled, and I saw the tears welling up in her eyes. She was trying so hard to hold it together, but I wasn't about to let her off easy. Not this time. Don't you dare cry now, I spat, stepping closer to her. You didn't care about me then, and you sure didn't care about my son. So why should I care about you now? Her face twisted, the guilt finally hitting her like a ton of bricks. Granny, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. It just happened. I never meant to hurt anyone. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was still trying to justify it, trying to play the victim. But there was no sympathy in my heart for her. Not anymore. Don't you dare try to play the victim here, I snapped. You knew exactly what you were doing. You thought you could get away with it, thinking nobody would find out. But baby, it's too late for that. The truth is out, and now you have to face it. You have to look me in the eye and own up to what you've done. You've disrespected me, disrespected my son, and you've broken our family. And for what? A janitor. She winced at the mention of her lover, but I wasn't finished yet. I want you to apologize to me, I demanded, standing tall, my voice steady. I want you to apologize to me like you've never apologized to anyone in your life. Because, baby, this is the moment when you're going to have to live with what you did. You're going to have to live with the fact that you betrayed a family that took you in, that loved you, and you tore it all apart. And you can't walk away from that. The silence between us was thick. She was looking at me like she had never seen me before, like I was a different person. But she had no idea. I had been silent for too long, keeping everything bottled up. And now? Now, I was done. You're going to have to make this right. And I'm not letting you off the hook. Not until you finally face the consequences of your actions. When I looked her in the eye, I didn't see the woman who had once been family. I saw a stranger who thought she could get away with everything. But not anymore. Let me tell you, baby, this wasn't just about the affair anymore. This wasn't about her disrespecting me or my son. This was about standing up for what was right. This was about taking back my power, my voice, and my dignity. I wasn't going to sit by and watch her destroy everything we had worked for, and I sure as hell wasn't going to let her get away with it. Now let me ask you this. Have you ever had to stand up to someone who thought they could walk all over you? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments below, because I know I'm not the only one who's ever had to face the truth head-on. And if you're feeling this story, baby, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, because you don't want to miss what happens next. Granny Tina has a lot more to say, and trust me, it's only getting better from here. Stay tuned. You ever notice how the truth, no matter how heavy or hard, always has a way of pulling you up from the bottom? When you've been carrying something too long, when that weight gets too heavy, the only thing that can free you is the truth. And let me tell you, after everything I'd gone through, the lies, the betrayal, the disrespect, once the truth came out, it felt like I could finally breathe again. But that wasn't the end of it. The truth doesn't just change things overnight. It doesn't wipe away the hurt or fix broken hearts. Nah. It opens wounds, pulls back layers, and leaves you standing in the middle of the storm, trying to figure out how to pick up the pieces. I spent years letting that girl, my daughter-in-law, run all over me, thinking I could just let it go. That's the thing about family. We think we have to take the disrespect, take the hurt, because that's what families do, right? They forgive. They move on. But let me tell you something, just because you're family doesn't mean you have to tolerate being treated like a doormat. So, after the showdown, after I told her exactly who I was and how much she had taken from me, I took a deep breath. I didn't feel victorious. I felt relieved. Like I had finally walked through a door I had kept closed for so long. I was no longer invisible. And I wasn't going to pretend to be someone I wasn't, just to keep the peace. Now, let me be clear. The fallout wasn't pretty. My son, poor thing, had his hands full. He was stuck between the woman he loved, who had betrayed him, and the mother who had always been there for him. I knew it wasn't easy for him. Hell, it wasn't easy for me either. We spent years together building a life, and now everything was fractured. His world had just been turned upside down, and it was painful for him to accept the truth. It wasn't just about the affair. No. It was about everything she had done to tear this family apart, her cruelty, her disrespect, her lies. But no matter how much I had exposed, my son still wasn't ready to face the full extent of the damage she'd caused. So I took a step back. For a moment, I just let him be. I gave him space. I wasn't going to push him to choose between me and her. He had to make that decision on his own. He had to learn to face the truth, just like I had. And that baby was hard for him. I knew it. But I also knew I had to stand firm. I couldn't go back to being that woman who had swallowed all the hurt and walked away. Not anymore. But you know what? Sometimes, the hardest part of all this wasn't even confronting her, it was facing my son. He had been in the dark for so long. He didn't know what I had known, what I had seen, and for so long I kept quiet. I didn't want to tear his world apart, but that silence nearly destroyed me. I had to sit him down. I had to tell him the truth. I had to be honest, not just with him, but with myself. I never wanted to be the one to expose her, I told him, my voice trembling. But I couldn't let you keep living a lie. She didn't just hurt you, son. She hurt me too. And I've been holding it in for far too long. I couldn't keep watching you be blind to what was happening right in front of you. He looked at me with those big, confused eyes, the same eyes I had watched grow up from a baby. Mom, I didn't know. I had no idea. His voice cracked, and it hit me harder than I expected. I nodded, holding back my own tears. I know you didn't. But that's what makes this so much harder. I loved her, too. I wanted to believe in her. I wanted to see the woman who would love you, who would build a future with you. But that wasn't who she was. He paused for a long time, staring at the floor like he was seeing everything for the first time. I let him sit in that silence. I wasn't going to fill the space for him. He needed to feel this. He needed to face it. Finally, he looked up at me, his voice small. I don't know what to do, Mom. I don't know how to move forward from here. I placed my hand on his shoulder. One step at a time. That's how you move forward. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to decide you're not going to live in the shadows anymore. And that means facing the truth, even when it hurts. And just like that, the air between us felt lighter. He wasn't fully healed, and neither was I. But we had begun the first steps towards rebuilding. You know, Family isn't about pretending things are perfect. It's about fighting for each other, even when the world is falling apart. And rebuilding, well, that takes time. Trust is a fragile thing. It's built up over years, and it can be torn down in an instant. But it can also be rebuilt, brick by brick, with honesty and effort. My son had a lot of work to do, but so did I. I couldn't let this moment define me. I couldn't let the years of mistreatment and hurt become my identity. I had to find my own way, too. I had to figure out how to heal, how to forgive both myself and my son. I decided to take my life back. I didn't want to be stuck in the past, grieving the loss of something I couldn't change. I started spending more time on myself. I got back into the things I loved. I started painting again, something I hadn't done in years. I took long walks in the park, just to clear my mind and feel the sun on my face. And I made new friends, women my age who had walked similar paths, who had learned to rebuild after their own storms. But it wasn't just about finding peace for myself. It was about showing my son that even when things fall apart, you can rebuild them stronger than before. You don't have to stay stuck in the pain. You don't have to let the past keep you from moving forward. One of the hardest things I had to learn in all of this was setting boundaries. For so long, I had let people, my daughter-in-law, my son, walk all over me. I had sacrificed myself for the sake of their happiness. But I had to realize that boundaries weren't about being selfish. They were about self-love. So I made it clear to my son, I'm not going to be treated like I don't matter anymore. I will always love you, but if we're going to move forward, you need to respect me, just as I've respected you. He didn't get it at first. He thought I was being hard on him, but I stood firm. And slowly, over time, he began to understand. He began to see me, not just as his mother, but as a woman with her own needs, her own voice. And that made all the difference. I won't tell you it was all easy. It wasn't. There were days when I wanted to give up, when I wanted to retreat back into my quiet world and pretend everything was fine. But I couldn't. Not anymore. I wanted to show my son that no matter what happens, you can heal. You can rebuild. You can rise from the ashes stronger than ever. And you know what? I did. I am. The relationship between me and my son isn't perfect. We still have a long way to go. But we've taken the first step. And that's what matters. We've faced the truth. And now, we're working on rebuilding what was broken. You see, the truth will either tear you down, or it'll set you free. And me? I'm free now. Let me tell you, baby, this was just the beginning of my journey. So many of us go through life carrying burdens, keeping things in, thinking we have to keep pretending that everything's okay. But no more. If you're feeling the weight of your own burdens, if you've ever had to rebuild from the ground up, I want you to know you're not alone. And if you're ready to take control of your own story, hit that subscribe button and stay with me. Granny Tina's just getting started. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. You know, it's funny how life has a way of taking you to the edge, testing your strength, making you feel like you're about to break. But it's in those moments when you stand at the crossroads, looking at the pieces of yourself that others tried to tear down, that you realize the most important thing. You don't need anyone's approval to move forward. You don't need anyone's validation to thrive. And baby, that's exactly what I figured out the night of the Thanksgiving service. Before all this drama, I was a woman who put everyone else before herself. My family came first, my son's happiness, my daughter-in-law's comfort, hell, even strangers on the street, before my own peace. I let things slide. I let people treat me however they wanted. But I don't do that anymore. No more. After everything I had been through, after the lies, the disrespect, the way my daughter-in-law mocked me at my own husband's funeral, I decided I was done being invisible. I had spent too many years hiding in the background, swallowing my pain and pretending like everything was fine. But I had learned something valuable. People will walk all over you if you let them. But when you stand up, when you stop accepting crumbs, that's when they finally see you. That's when they realize who they're messing with. I walked away that night from that chaotic Thanksgiving service, not just with my head held high, but with a heart full of peace. And I'll tell you this, I won't be going back to that invisible place ever again. No more pretending, no more playing the part of the quiet, invisible matriarch who keeps her feelings locked away. I've learned that if you don't speak up for yourself, nobody else will. I'm not saying I became a whole new person overnight, but I'll tell you what, I started to see myself in a whole new light. Granny Tina, the one who had been silenced, the one who never demanded respect, is gone. What's left is a woman who knows her worth, who stands tall, who says what she means and doesn't apologize for it. You see, after that Thanksgiving service, I realized something important. I had spent too much time being what everyone expected me to be. But now I'm living for me. And that's a lesson I'm passing on to anyone who will listen. It's funny how the worst moments can lead to the best decisions. When I finally opened my eyes and saw what had been going on around me, I stopped putting everyone else's happiness first. I focused on my own. And trust me, that's not an easy thing to do when you've spent a lifetime putting others before yourself. But once I did it, the world opened up. I started doing things I love, things I'd put off for years. I signed up for painting classes, never had time for that before. I joined a church group, finally made some real friends who respected me for who I am. I even took a solo trip to the beach. You'd think that after everything that happened, I would have felt guilty, right? But I didn't. I deserved it. I also started to work on my relationship with my son. It wasn't easy, no. He was still in the thick of it with his wife, caught between love and betrayal. But slowly, we started talking more, started connecting in a way we hadn't in years. I told him I was there for him, but only if he was ready to face the truth. It wasn't about what happened with his wife anymore. It was about him standing up for himself, for the man he had to become. Now, don't get me wrong. It hasn't all been sunshine and roses. There are still some days where the pain creeps back in. There are moments when I miss the version of my family that once was. But I'm no longer holding on to the past. I'm building something new. And that's a powerful thing, you know? To feel free from the weight of all the hurt, the lies, the disrespect. And what's even more powerful is knowing that, no matter what happens with my family, I won't be going back to that place where I'm forgotten, dismissed, or disrespected. I'm not just surviving anymore. I'm living. I'm thriving. I walked away that night, not just with my head held high, but with a heart full of peace. And I'll tell you this, I won't be going back to that invisible place ever again. Listen here, baby. If you've been riding this journey with me, you already know it's not easy to find your voice when the world's been quieting you for so long. But if I can do it, you best believe you can too. I didn't let them keep me in the shadows anymore, and neither should you. If this story hit you deep, if you've ever felt like you don't matter, like they've walked all over you, then it's time for you to rise up. Don't sit there feeling invisible. Hit that subscribe button like you're claiming your space, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. You're not alone, and together, we'll make sure no one keeps us down. Drop a comment, let me know what you've been through, and remember this. The woman who felt invisible? Well, she's about to make her move. And trust me, I'm just getting started. Stay with me, because Granny Tina's got more stories, more wisdom, and more healing to share. You deserve to be seen, baby, and we're gonna make sure of it.